Let's pretend you just started playing the World of Warcraft. Very first time. I'll talk you through. You start off on a boat and you get your first taste of combat. You end up on an island that conveniently gets you familiar with more combat basics and quests and equipment and good old faction propaganda. You group up with people or maybe NPCs, you defeat some bad guys as a team, even take down a scary dragon. You're then whisked off to the capital city of your faction and taken on a tour of the city. When the tour is done, the guide thanks you for giving them something to do, but there's one more thing. Your guide leads you to one more part of town, a residential district. As thanks for your deeds on Exile's Reach, your faction leader was gracious enough to give you a place to stay and settle in before you run off gallivanting who knows where, or when, even. I can imagine the guide saying something like, "Oh,
yeah, I hope you enjoy the digs. I mean, the High King thinks that you've got the potential to be a friend to the people, maybe even a champion. It'd be pretty dumb to let someone like you just wander around like a murder hobo for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years and never have a place to hang all your trophies or just kick back and relax. That would be really stupid, right? Well, enjoy."
And then you're left to your own devices. Boy, it's been a while since I've talked up player housing, so while I have the time, hey, it's Soul with another player housing video. Just like all the others, it's pretty much just me talking, so feel free to tab over from now on or stare at me, whatever floats your boat. This is the Armchair Designer's fan fiction. It's a thought experiment, it's wishful thinking, it's obviously not happening, it's whatever you want to call it. I'm not here to debate or persuade you to get into player housing. I know it still somehow reminds people of the Garrison, and believe me, they're not related. I know that trying to encourage traditional player housing feels like a non-starter, but so was Classic. All we need is a bit of hype for it to get done, and more importantly, to be done right. I'm going to try and really build up what a traditional player housing experience in WoW can be like, and unlike previous talks on this, I'm going to kind of sidestep the massive challenges of player housing and just focus on the idea on how they can be implemented, while keeping in mind what I typically hear and see from fellow fans who also want housing. But before I start any of that, why? Why am I such a big proponent of player housing? I strongly believe that most, not all, but most players want to express their achievements beyond the gear that they wear, the title next to their name, or the mount that they're on, or the pet at their side. I believe that players want to work towards something that feels permanent, because we've learned over the years that while the memories of our accomplishments are not replaceable, gear definitely is. And so has our character progression, unfortunately. Housing gives that sense of permanence in the World of Warcraft, as most everything else changes around us. I feel that Blizzard did a pretty good job investing into casual content with the Covenant Sanctum and Anima, but the execution is much too simple. You get Anima, you get souls, you get stuff. The stuff is okay, but it's limited, and the farming up, it feels less engaging than what it could be. But investing into housing has the potential of reaching out to every community in WoW, from PvPers to raiders to dungeon runners and high-end crafters and role players and collectors alike, because they all have one thing in common: the desire to show off their efforts. And it can make Blizzard a lot of money if it's well executed. So just like an actual house, I should talk up my ideas to build a foundation for player housing. Think of it as the cornerstone or a mandate. It's evergreen. It's going to be supported with regular updates, big and small, until the game shuts down. It's available. Anybody should be able to have a home, which I'm sure has nearly impossible hurdles to clear when it comes to like data management, but let's just pretend. And for this video, I'm not going to be talking about guild halls. If you're curious why, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll make you depressed with my answer. Just try me, I dare you. It's going to be account-wide. There will be some restrictions for the sake of roleplay, and I'll try getting into that, but basically what you acquire and unlock on one character will be usable across your entire account. The utility of housing is going to be extremely minimal. Maybe at some level you can grow some herbs and have a fridge that can spawn a boxed lunch every day or something, but this is not a garrison that you invest into for big returns. I guess I should point out for those of you in the back, this is not a garrison. Take literally everything that you remember about them and throw them out, okay? Housing is going to be a loop for the player economy. That means the things that make your house yours will be driven by the players. Gatherers and explorers will get materials. Crafters will make objects for players, and then players can use these objects to unlock access to these items. So housing isn't just for people who want housing, it's also for people who want to make money off of those people who want housing. And I'll talk more on that later. It's meant to be a platform of expression. Housing ought to be what the creator makes out of it. It can look like a regular old apartment, it can look like a museum to display all of your cool accomplishments, but it's got to go beyond that and have a really sandboxy feel to it too, with a ton of different decorations, facades, and more to give our imaginations shape. So yeah, it can be a brothel, it can be a man cave, it can look like an episode of Hoarders, and of course, it can be completely ignored too. Your actual house is going to be broken up into a few major sections. The first is the actual house, which is prefabricated on the outside. There's the zone or the biome that the house is located in, and then finally there's all the stuff that you can place inside and outside and around the house. For the sake of simplicity, your home will be instanced to yourself, unlike say Final Fantasy XIV, where you see a neighborhood of homes and apartments. If you want to visit someone else's home, I guess you could just talk to an NPC somewhere and then just type in the full name - realm of the person whose home you want to look at, and then off you go, as long as that person allows others to see their home. First things first though, how will the actual decoration of your house play out? Now I've toyed with numerous ideas and I've seen all sorts of others, but I think the best method of messing with your house is also the most nightmarish for the WoW team to develop, and I'm talking about placing objects freeform. As you acquire items and decorations, you'll be able to place them wherever you like as long as it doesn't intersect with something else. No matter what the implementation though, Blizzard is not going to be able to simply take an existing doodad in like a chair and drag it into a folder in their database called player housing and then ta-da, it's implemented. This means among other things, each piece of furniture and doodad needs to be reworked with its own hitbox or collision so it doesn't cause awkwardness when placing stuff. The WoW team has tools to do this obviously, it's how they craft the worlds that we see now, but a version of this will need to be made for players. It'll definitely require a learning curve too, because tools like these are very heavily menu based. But I should mention an idea that I had way back in the day where, instead of placing things pretty much wherever you like, one could select a wall section, for example, and see a selection of what they can place there, like a poster, a shelf, a lamp, or blood spatter, because you're that kind of person. So instead of the meticulous pixel-perfect placement of objects, it's more like select area, and then choose objects that can be placed in said area. Now, either of these ideas could work. I think the first method is better because it allows for so much more imagination, but it's much more difficult for the team to develop. I think I can argue that the second method is more welcoming for players who want the fun of making stuff without the tedium of rotating and scooching everything one pixel to the right so you can make room for like this newest thing. I'm not sure how I feel about the exterior to the house being unique to every single race, as in, having racial housing. I look at other games and see that the house is mostly based on where it is, but the interior, of course, is a blank slate that people can do whatever they want with. For example, what if someone wants a house on the Burning Steps? It'd be ludicrous to have a high mountain Tauren tent, as opposed to having something a little bit more thematic to the zone, like a hollowed out part of the mountain with a big steel door as the entrance. That actually seems kind of cool and probably easier to design. I think in the long term, we're best with the homes themselves being more unified in their design, generic stuff, while the interior is left to the player to decorate as they see fit. That way, the implementation will be easier if and when bigger homes are made available. Collecting furniture and decorations to place will be managed by a collection system similar to transmog and wardrobe. Let's say you want to have a new set of chairs to put around a dining table. Okay, if you have a profession to make those chairs, you can get all the materials and craft it or buy it from the auction house. It's simple as that. When you use the item from your inventory, you obtain this chair and it goes into your collection. Obviously, if you want a set of 4 chairs, then you need to craft or buy 3 more chairs. But once you have them forever. They can't be destroyed or lost under any circumstances, and the collection system basically protects that from happening. I imagine that there will also be a maximum number of furniture pieces that you can have in your collection. Like, maybe you can have 5 of a generic rug, but you can only have 1 rug made from Nefarian's hide because, that's special. Anyway, from this menu, you'll also be able to look at things that you haven't acquired with a little tooltip showing where it drops or how to make it. And this won't be a feature for all items, but for certain items like rugs or curtains or wallpaper, we can use the extra reagent option that we're now familiar with in Shadowlands to make furniture items of different colors. Some people might find that to be a big pain in the ass, but since these are permanent unlocks, I don't see this being that big of a deal in the long term. I think the vast majority of furniture is going to come from the player economy, aka making stuff. So we're going to see players regularly farming up old and new content for materials needed to craft this furniture. And maybe we can add a layer of scarcity by making some profession recipes harder to obtain than others. Tons and tons and tons of items will need to be made and added to loot tables to support this, with the intended player behavior to be more people out there farming up legacy content in both instances and in the outdoor world. Actually, the recent profession changes make this perfect for supporting housing, so let's use herbalism as an example. When farming up herbs in Battle for Azeroth zones, you get Battle for Azeroth herbs as well as these new crafting materials specific to making furniture and decorations from that era. Now, if crafters want to make the BFA furniture, then they need to invest into leveling that BFA crafting, which I remember is really easy. I want to at least briefly explore the possibility of another profession to help with housing, because whether it's a primary or secondary profession, adding one that would primarily be for housing risks causing a kind of imbalance because we're introducing a profession that has a unique skill set. I already don't like professions very much in the World of Warcraft because they don't offer all that much beyond maybe some whipped starting gear and a couple of fun items. I'd rather see crafted housing items be spread across all of the existing professions, including cooking and fishing and archaeology. One could say that a blacksmith crafting a wooden table seems kind of awkward, but I'm willing to suspend some disbelief, okay? The alternative would be to make a woodworking sort of profession that deals with furniture that the other professions can't make, and while that's okay, that feels a bit more forced. We're adding more to do in order to make this new profession work, and if we can avoid the extra effort, I would. Some decorations can be a direct drop, such as, I don't know, miniatures of NPCs. Maybe a certain boss will drop a necklace that can be hung up. Maybe some bosses can drop pristine heads that you can hang. That'd be a pretty cool thing to put up, like a line of AOTC or cutting edge achievements across a wall in your house. Regular and legacy achievements are going to play a big part too. Your growing collection of mounts? Hey, maybe that can unlock a unique looking stable that you can place outside. Depending on the number of pets that you have, you can unlock multiple pet beds and increase the number of favorite pets that appear in your home. I bet there are more than a few players who would love to have a trophy case just for all the times that they made it to Gladiator. Maybe completing Lore Master achievements in each expansion unlocks one or more decorations, like imagine a meta achievement for Legion that added one of those Legion ships in the sky just like for fun. I think that'd be pretty awesome. I did mention that some housing items may be exclusive for the sake of roleplay, so for example, a skilled engineer can place a weather machine to make it always rain or make it always be daytime. You can place an animal lamp that changes depending on the covenant that you chose. A Zandalari troll can place a statue of their favorite Loa. A warrior can have a special looking target dummy that really is no different functionally from anyone else's, it just has a unique look to it. And I want to mention again that these are just flavors. There won't be any circumstance where your choices make you more advantageous in any way. So how can player housing be launched in WoW, outside of course, the tremendous amounts of work designing and engineering it? I can see housing's initial announcement, not even the launch, but just the announcement, to describe a big initial rollout alongside an expansion, followed up with regular content drops with respect to how new players experience the game. And let me tell you what I mean. Right now, the World of Warcraft for a new player begins with Exile's Reach for their regular starting area, and then they're shoved into Battle for Azeroth, and then finally Shadowlands. My take on this is that housing will announce with plans to launch with newer players in mind. So in terms of housing and furniture, we're going to see like the single biggest drop of content to cover a wide variety of themes, races, holidays, and memorable events, and on top of that, a content drop of themed furniture and decorations based on the Battle for Azeroth expansion. So think of like faction heavy themes, stuff from Kultiris and Zandalar. Think of some fun propaganda posters for the Horde or the Alliance, maybe a giant tentacle to have in your front yard, and let's throw in an enchantment to change the skybox to Nyalotha, you weirdo. And that's the sort of expectation that I'd like to see Blizzard set, that players can expect theme drops, small to modest additions of new housing items on a regular basis. It's not so different from seeing a bunch of unique mounts with a bunch of recolors as we move from one season to the next. But they've also got to be pretty frequent, like I said, in both major and minor patches, because housing has years worth of stuff to catch up to. The balance here is not to overwhelm developers, and especially the players, or its economy with way too much stuff to farm for and make and sell and unlock. Launching with 8 expansions worth of housing content in one go would be a huge mistake because the later drops might feel too thin, but launching with too little risks compromising interest, which would demotivate Blizzard from putting more into housing in the future. There's a balance to be struck there, and I think a solid rollout followed by drops centered around a theme would work best and get people the most excited. So here's an example of how drops would work throughout an expansion. The expansion launch would be the biggest drop outside of the very first launch of housing, and we'll use Legion as an example. If Legion launched with housing in mind, players would see a big addition of themes specific to the class order halls, enough that you can make a mini order hall in your own home. Some decorations could be used on any character, others in the meantime would be class specific. Throughout Legion's patches, a few expansion-based things could be added, like stuff based on Odin and the Skyhold, maybe Argus too, but non-expansion theme packages would be added as well, like, hey, here's a few items from the Throne of Thunder Zone, maybe we can make our own mini Thunder Forge for blacksmiths, or here's a version of Nefarian's Throne and one of those giant gongs from the Atramedes encounter. Part of the player reaction I can easily foresee, and this is mostly because WoW is like so old, is that for every housing content drop, players are going to be pretty pissed that the thing that they want isn't available yet. Like, hey, where's the Tempest Keep pack that we were promised? Or why don't we get drapes based on Suramar? Like that sort of thing. But for now, let's circle all the way back to the new player experience when someone is first granted a house in Orgrimmar or Stormwind. The new player will enter their home and they won't see much. They're going to see like a bed, a stool, a desk, and a mailbox outside. It's going to be very bare-boned. The player will be able to unlock numerous housing and decorative items just from leveling. It's easy enough to leave a little notification over in the collections window that, hey, you just unlocked a new piece of furniture. There are tons of achievements to earn even during the leveling experience, and each can award a small unlock that, when they return back to their house, they can then place. I could see something like a tutorial NPC who just kind of hangs by your house like a creeper. He'll be behind a fence, you can only see like the top half of his face, who will point out a number of critical placements that you've unlocked but haven't set yet, and offer a quest to place it for the first time. Like, so for example, let's say you play as a human and you reached Exalted with Stormwind. Yay! Well, that happens to start a new quest to remind you that you can unlock a bigger house if you want to throw down the extra gold. Or how about a new quest that unlocks the ability to change the location of your house to another zone biome? After all, maybe you just completed the Grizzly Hills quest in Northrend, and now you can move your home there for a nominal fee. Obviously, you're not literally moving your home to Grizzly Hills. You could still probably use your capital city or a special Hearthstone to get to your place wherever it is. Meanwhile, veteran players will be in for a treat as soon as they log in after housing is made available, because any housing that's unlocked via achievement will be grandfathered to them. I'm pretty confident that if Blizzard were to introduce housing, it'd be accessible during the pre-expansion patch, which would definitely be a hype inducer. The vast majority of housing items will still need to be crafted and acquired, but day one, a lot of these longtime players will no doubt feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed with the options, but I don't think that's too much to complain about. If anything, it'll get them hyped up to farm for more stuff. What I expect to see though, with the launch of housing, if it launches with all these ideas in mind, is that first there's going to be an unprecedented level of gold exchange and material consumption across like every part of the game. You bet if there's a PTR for this, people are going to be studying up on what materials they can farm for and acquire as much of it as possible beforehand. And that early on, players are going to be zipping off in every which way direction to gather up the new materials and recipes from old content, both indoor and outdoor. In other words, some but hardly all people will commit to a form of min-maxing it, like a race to completion. Even if they're not actually participating in it, it wouldn't be unlike wanting to fill out their transmog collections, while the rest of us will be exploring the possibilities and targeting unlocks so we can make the kind of house that suits our tastes. And then we do it on our alts and our other alts, again and again and again until we die. Some, including folks at Blizzard, have said that housing will stop people from going out into the world, and I fully disagree. This implementation of mine has people pillaging the entire planet of resources, and with regular content drops, there will be a regular farming of these resources in every corner of the game, either to make their own stuff or to sell it to someone else. Obviously, there's going to be a period of time where people will be spending hours, long hours, meticulously placing items in their homes, but you know what? Who cares? They're playing the game. I'd rather see people diddling in their houses waiting for a queue to pop than standing around in capital cities queuing as if that's supposed to be the immersion we're trying to protect. Housing is arguably the best long-term commitment one can put into an MMO, because it's for everyone. Raids and dungeons and Mythic Plus even are not for everyone because not only of preference, but because of skill too. Housing, or at least my imagining of WoW housing, isn't going to gatekeep anyone. There's a path for people who solo or who want to be part of the player economy. There's no rush, there's no end to it, even if someone were to collect everything, because that's only a part of housing. The other part is how do you want to express this collection on your character or characters. But now I want to touch on something a little bit more controversial. The in-game shop. Housing is almost purely cosmetic, and under my made-up mandate, housing is not a way to gain any meaningful power, or gold, or advantage really. You might have remembered me mentioning an herb garden of sorts. Now what if I were to say that looting from it was similar to completing a Blingtron quest, as in you can only do it once across your entire account? That's it. There you go. Nice try. So anyway, back to the in-game shop. So in support of naked capitalism, I guess, I can see and maybe even support Blizzard launching a limited selection of paid decorations. And now in this case, I'm going to turn to Final Fantasy XIV's shop website to look at their examples of paid furniture. So let's go for a ride. Okay, so we're looking for housing. I know it was here. I saw it before I started this recording. Here we go, housing. Okay, so we have a bunny. So I guess it's just a lot of holiday theme sort of stuff. Let's just take a quick look at. Okay, so it's $5. This is furnishing for housing. Please note that the following may result in the loss of this item, the removal of this item by another player. Because I believe that other people, you can give people permission to manipulate stuff in your home if you wanted to. Leaving or being discharged from a free company / guild, unsharing an estate, or the demolition of an estate, which I believe comes if you have a house in 14 and you're not logged in or you don't visit the house for a certain amount of time, then you basically lose the rights to the house. And wait, really? So you can actually lose an item. This is cute, but yeah, that doesn't do me so well. Wow. That's okay. So let's take a glance at the rest of this really quick. So $5 for a rabbit, $5 for a poster, a little doodad right over there, another poster, a set of posters. So you can get any one of these 4 posters here, or you can get the entire set, which looks, pretty cool. Those are pretty cool. Yeah, because I think each of those are wall facades, or there's a wall sections, and then I guess they just have the whole thing hanging up on there. But $20 for that. Most of these look like they're $5. Except for this thing. This happens to be $15, but it seems to be more like a premium. Actually, this thing looks premium too. I believe this one plays music. This one is just a fat clock. That's it, huh? Yeah, I think it's just an alarm clock. Okay. And then we have upholstered walls. Oh, I'm familiar with that. Wait. Okay, that's one wall, and here so you pay You pay $5 per section. Holy cow. Now again, remind you, like Final Fantasy 14, you can make all sorts of different things. This is just like the shop stuff, but wow, dang, these guys are milking it. Yeah, here we go. Let's check. $5 for one section of floor. I'm not quite sure how big it is. Maybe it's talking about like an entire like lower level floor, because you can buy multiples, like 3 units of flooring. And this is for a single character. This is not like account wide stuff. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, what else we have? We have like cool looking statues. So those are like more expensive. It looks like we're seeing things like start at like $5. And now we have a puppy and fruit. $5 for fruit, really? It looks like these are like holiday themed sorts of items, and I think there's like more. Okay, yeah. So there's more. And we got love Valentine-y stuff. $5, $10. Yeah, a lot of these are $5. $5 for rose petals, cherry blossom petals, eggs, more wall stuff. Wow, really? This is probably just like 1, 2. And, there's no 3-panel sort of dealie. There's a pool for hot tub streaming. Nice. More posters. Yeah, $5. Oh, no, there's more. Okay. Summer stuff. More posters. No package deals. I think I saw some filters like further up this. Now we're looking at definitely holiday stuff. Christmas and Halloween, more Christmas, presents, Christmas, and that's all of them. So this shop actually isn't like super, okay, this is actually kind of a lot of different stuff. But I remember seeing something about, if I recall, certain items here, they are available for free if you were part of an event. Oh, here we go. So about this item. This item or one otherwise equivalent was available during the past in-game event. So in some cases, or maybe in most of these cases, these items were acquirable in-game without paying any extra money. But if you happen to just miss out, then you could always go back and I guess they just put it on the shop afterwards. So in this particular case, it looks like this one was not available as a holiday thing. It's just a premium sort of item. But I'm not seeing anything obvious that says, hey, here's something advantageous that'll make you like stronger in battle or make you gold or produce resources or anything like that. Unless the food counts as something. And it looks like you get 5 platters. Oh. Actually, wait, you do get, this is food that you can use. Yeah, so I think, this is something that I'm kind of okay with. If it's just like a little food thing that you have to come all the way back for, and then you go back, that's kind of neat. So the stuff on their shop seems like pretty harmless fun. That's the direction that I'd want to see paid housing items go. I'm definitely against the idea of losing a digital good, which is why I'm super happy about WoW's collection systems. Housing would fit in there very snugly. Other ideas that come to mind include paying a premium to change the exterior of the house, not the interior, but just like that external facade. How about a house shaped like a giant head of Sylvanas? It's a monument to her greatness or being beheaded. How about throwing down some cash to relocate to a housing location in a spot that doesn't exactly tie into the story, like AU Draenor or Argus, or maybe the bottom of Bashir or inside a vision of Nazoth? How about the sky? Anyway, that's me finally letting my imagination run a little wild with player housing in the World of Warcraft. I'm getting a taste of it in Final Fantasy 14 as a reference, and it seems nice. The thing is though, while I'll continue to explore more of what 14 has to offer with crafting and housing, I just want this in WoW. I want Blizzard to not just do player housing, I want them to do it better and in a way that makes their version unique, just not Garrison unique. I think it's a pipe dream to imagine giving player housing to every single player, but I think Blizzard should give people that. And if it takes an in-game shop with some holiday decorations to help support it, it's fine by me. I'm sure there are things that I've missed in this whole write-up because I just sat down and wrote the whole thing in one go, but I'm more than happy to discuss more ideas in the comments. I know that there are doubters out there, and no shortage of reasons to not have housing in WoW. I've heard it all, but I'm taking the side of irrational hope. This is something that I want to play here and not some other game. And even if you're not down for most of these ideas, please like the video anyway and share it to get more conversations going, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.